It might be for something in the mail. It might be waiting till the kids get out of school, waiting to pay off a mortgage, waiting to get an apology from somebody who's hurt you. It might be feeling strong enough to have a difficult conversation with somebody. Might be waiting to be born. Maybe it's waiting to die. But waiting is something that we as human beings don't do very well. If you take a look at that worship aid cover with the little kid looking out the window, there's a little bit of that in all of us. We call that the inner child. And hopefully that hasn't died completely, that little spark inside of us that's still kind of looking forward to or anticipating. But waiting is something that human beings don't like, because waiting always is predicated on somebody else, something else. Well, as soon as I get this promotion, or as soon as we get this built, or as soon as they move here, or as soon as we get married, or as soon as we're waiting. We're always waiting on something that seems to be out there that somebody else has to do. The only human being that ever waited perfectly was Mary. Of course, she was graced by God to do that. Waiting. And yet, our theme as we look at this Advent season is, what are you waiting for? We spend so much of our lives with excuses. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. And then we kind of wonder why things don't change. I hear a lot of that at wakes. People are standing up by the box and they'll say, well, I really should have visited her more often. Or I wished I would have told him that I loved him. Or I wanted to apologize. And of course, at that time, it's too late. Waiting. Well, there's one part of waiting in our lives that we have absolute control over, as opposed to waiting till this happens or that happens, or she does this or he comes back and does that. There's one that we're in total control of, and that's our spiritual lives. And we don't talk about it very often because most of us want to keep this face on, really nice person. But if we're really honest with ourselves, we say, man, I wish my relationship with God was stronger. I wish I could pray more. I have a hard time praying. Or I really wish that I really felt something it's not like when I was a little kid. I said my prayers and I felt close to God, and I don't now. This waiting, Christ is already sitting waiting for us. But all too often, we are maybe sometimes people say, younger people say, that happens when you get older. I'll wait till I get older, then I'll worry about those things. And then the older people say, I ain't that old yet. So we're all kind of waiting until some other time, and yet we're told in the gospel today, you don't know the day. You don't know the hour. And so the spiritual question today is, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Most of the excuses that we have about our faith have to do with other things. We're waiting for a different pope or a different bishop or a different pastor or something. Well, it's always something out there. But really in our spiritual lives, every day is the day. Is the day. And so can we be honest enough and say, Christ, I'm not happy with what's going on in my marriage or my life right now, and I need your help. I don't like this empty feeling. I'm going through the motions. I go to church most of the time, and it doesn't seem to really do it yet, and I'm really not sure what's going on, but we just kind of keep going through the motions day in and day out, Sunday after Sunday, same thing, same thing, same thing, and it gets to be a rut. Ruts are nothing more than shallow graves. What are you waiting for? One of the deepest human needs is to be forgiven. And I hear all kinds of crazy excuses about confession and reconciliation. And yet sometimes, more often than not, people come in and they say, well, Father, I haven't been here for 26 years. I said, I don't care. You're here now. That's all that matters. I don't care if you don't even know the act of contrition. The fact of it is you have waited long enough, you want a difference in your life, and you're taking that step. What's going to be different this year? We say, well, I wish Advent was different, or I want a different Christmas this year. We get all caught up in all this other kind of stuff, and it's come and gone, and then I feel like I've missed something. What are you waiting for? What will be different this year? It's not going to be on anybody else's shoulders. Starts right here with us. We just don't like to talk about this with other people because we think that people will think we're bad if we have some doubts or our faith isn't what it looks like on the outside. Who cares? Advent is a time of that kind of renewal. And Advent is the time that we celebrate the coming of Emmanuel, whose name means God with us. He's here right now. You and I rattle through the Our Father and say, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And we're so focused on the heaven part, at least theoretically, that we forget it's supposed to be here right now. And if we don't recognize him now, we're not going to recognize him on the last day. Simple fact. He'll say, I was right here. Wouldn't it be a surprise if Jesus said to you, I was your mother-in-law? But if we're not looking, we won't see. We don't like other kinds of waiting. This one, we have 100% control over. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for?